All praises, all praises, all praises to the heavenly, holy, almighty creator of infinity and all. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit. Hello, family. I am back together again with you in the greatest level of humility, privilege, and pleasure to make presentation. And we are convening and converging, conjugating, convocating, and congregating. And we are here today in love and safety and warmth and togetherness as we continue with our education and edification of the holy nation. All praises in my continuous extension of prayer for the care and safety of the 12 tribes of Israel scattered abroad, as well as the pending Israelite brothers and sisters of the world and family. We are back at the Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit Den, where we shall begin our continuing review of the slave trade timeline. And we began this wonderful journey into the mysterious and hidden history of the hidden nation of eternal royalty. And we have expanded and expounded and elevated our mental shackles to the point where they are breaking and bursting open, and we are filling in the gaps and the holes that we were deprived of in this common carnal curriculum on this continent of confusion. And so tonight we shall be continuing with the slave trade timeline with the years of 1527 through 1600. And so, family, as we find our soft space in the place and we look into the eternities and the windows of the souls of the brethren and sisters, we shall become still. We shall become quiet. We are ready for the mental deliberation and elaboration of the nation. And we shall begin. We will recap with the last year's entry of the previous episode with the year 1526. The first enslaved Africans arrived in what is now the United States as part of the San Miguel de Guadalupe colony, most likely located in the Winyah Bay area of present-day South Carolina, founded by Spanish explorer Lucas Vasquez de Ayllón in 1526. On October 18, 1526, Ayllón died, and the colony was almost immediately disrupted by a fight over leadership, during which the slaves revolted and fled the colony to seek refuge among local Native Americans. Many of the colonists died shortly afterwards of an epidemic, and the colony was abandoned, leaving the escaped enslaved Africans behind in what is now South Carolina. In addition to being the first instance of enslaved Africans in the United States, San Miguel de Guadalupe was also the first documented slave rebellion in North America. 1526. Hieronymus Celer and Heinrich Ehinger of Constance become the first Germans we know to have become involved in the slave trade. 1527, earliest records of sugar production in Jamaica, later a major sugar producing region of the British Empire. Sugar production is rapidly expanding throughout the Caribbean region at this time, with the mills almost exclusively worked by African slaves. November 1528, a slave called Esteban or Estevanico becomes the first African slave to step foot on what is now the United States of America. He is one of only 4 survivors of the Panfilo de Narvaez failed expedition to Florida. He and the other 3 took 8 years to walk to the Spanish colony in Mexico. After their return in 1536, the group's leader, Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca, published an account of their journey throughout modern Texas and Mexico. 1530, Juan de la Barrera, a Seville merchant, begins transporting slaves directly from Africa to the New World. Before this, slaves had normally passed through Europe first. His lead is quickly followed by other slave traders. 1532, William Hawkins of Plymouth becomes the first English mariner to visit the coast of West Africa, although he does not take part in slave trading. William Hawkins of Plymouth becomes the first English mariner to visit the coast of West Africa. January 22nd, 1532, Martim Afonso de Souza founds the first Portuguese colony in Brazil at São Vicente. Sugar production begins almost immediately. November 15, 1532, Francisco Pizarro massacres the Incas at Caxameco, modern Caxamarca, and captures King Atahualpa, an event that marks the Spanish conquest of Peru. May 30, 1539, Hernando de Soto, following reports of Cabeza de Vaca, lands on the coast of Florida. Of about 1,200 men of his expedition, around 50 were African slaves. After exploring modern Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, and South Carolina, the expedition ended in disaster. September 1541, on his 3rd voyage to Canada, Jacques Cartier establishes the first French colony in the New World at Charlesbourg Royal, close to modern Quebec. 1555, the Portuguese sailor Fernão de Oliveira in Art de Guerra non Mar, The Art of War at Sea, denounces the slave trade as an evil trade. The book anticipates many of the arguments made by abolitionists in the 18th and 19th centuries. Queen Mary of England, under pressure from the Spanish, forbids English involvement in Guinea. In July, a small group of Africans from Shama, modern Ghana, described as slaves, are brought to London by John Locke, a London merchant hoping to break into the African trade. November 1555, a group of Norman and Breton sailors under the command of Nicolas de Villegagnon found the first French colony in South America. The settlement, close to modern-day Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, is named La France Artanique. 1556, the Italian city of Genoa tries to prevent trading in slaves, not for humanitarian reasons, but only in an attempt to reduce the number of Africans in the city. Domingo de Soto, in De Justicia, et de Jure Libre, the 10 books of justice and law, argues that it is wrong to keep in slavery any person who was born free. 1562, October, John Hawkins of Plymouth becomes the first English sailor that we know of to have obtained African slaves, approximately 300 of them in Sierra Leone, for sale in the West Indies. Hawkins traded the slaves illegally with Spanish colonies, but the trip was profitable and others followed. These contributed to increasing tensions between England and Spain, as well as initiating the English slave trade. Hawkins also introduced both the potato and tobacco to Europe, or England. 1565, the colony of St. Augustine in Florida, founded by Pedro Menendez de Aviles, becomes the first permanent European settlement in North America and included an unknown number of free and enslaved Africans that were part of this colonial expedition. 1569, a civilian Dominican, Tomas de Mercado, publishes Tratos y Contratos de Mercaderes, practices, contracts of merchants, which attacks the way slaves are traded and conducted. 1571, the Parliament of Bordeaux sets all slaves, blacks and Moors, in the town free, declaring slavery illegal in France. 1573, a Spanish-Mexican lawyer, Bartolomé Frias de Albornoz, publishes Arte de los Contratos, the art of contracts, which casts doubts on the legality of the slave trade. February 20, 1575, Paulo Dias de Novaes founds the Portuguese colony of Sao Paulo de Lunanda on the African mainland of modern Angola. The colony soon becomes a major slave trading port, supplying the vast Brazilian market. December 13, 1577, Sir Francis Drake sets out from Plymouth on his circumnavigation of the globe. He returns September 26, 1580. January 29, 1579. With the Union of Utrecht, the northern provinces of the Low Countries unite to create a Calvinist republic free from Spanish rule. The United Provinces, modern-day Netherlands, soon become an important slave trading nation and an expiring colonial power. 1580, following the death of King Henry of Portugal and a short campaign by the Duke of Alva, Spain and Portugal are united under Philip II of Spain. Spain thus becomes the most important colonial power and the largest participant in the slave trade. July 27, 1585, the first English colony in the New World is established at Roanoke Island, modern North Carolina, organized by Sir Walter Raleigh and governed by Ralph Lane. It was not successful, and the colonists withdrew in June 1586. November 16, 1585, in the first series of attacks on Spanish colonial interests, Sir Francis Drake sacks the slave trading settlement of Santiago in the Cape Verde Islands. January 11, 1586, Sir Francis Drake sacks the Spanish colony of Santo Domingo, modern-day Dominican Republic. He goes back to sack Cartagena, modern-day Colombia, and St. Augustine, modern-day Florida. These acts of piracy are among the factors that precipitate war between England and Spain. July 23, 1587, a second English colony is founded at Roanoke Island, again organized by Sir Walter Raleigh. When it is revisited by English ships in 1590, it has vanished without a trace. All right. July through September 1588, the failure of the Spanish Armada and intended Spanish invasion of England, largely destroyed by bad weather, provides a boost for English maritime power and for English colonial ambitions, although the boost may have been more psychological than actual. 1592, Bernard Eriks becomes the first Dutch slave trader. 1594, L'Espérance of La Rochelle becomes the first French ship positively identified as participating in the slave trade. However, French merchants may have been involved in small-scale slave trading since the 1540s. July 11, 1596, Queen Elizabeth I of England sends a letter complaining that there are of late diverse black Moors brought into the realm, of which kind of people there have already been here, too many. Her Majesty's pleasure, therefore, is that those kind of people should be sent forth out of the land. Accordingly, a group of slaves were rounded up and given to a German slave trader, Caspar von Sinden, in payment for duties he had performed. All right, family, that was a quick summation of the 1500s from 1526 all the way up to 1596. 70 years of history to ponder and pontificate and peruse and research and prove. Oh yes. So family, Lord willing, of course, we shall return and continue with our escalation and elevation and deliberation on the mysterious history of the hidden nation. And you know how we do at Revelations.Unveiled.Detroit. I love you. I love you. I love you. This was the continuing review of the slave trade timeline, 1527 through 1600. And we shall continue, family, as we become more enlightened to the truth of the way and the light. This is Revelations.Unveiled.Detroit.